The Sonic franchise has gotten to the point recently where we see a very rare case in the video game industry, when a game company themselves are tainting the name of the series with lackluster entry time and time again. Within the past decade or so, the Sonic series has fired and missed multiple times when it comes to their 3D lineup of games, to the point where even the biggest Sonic fans have gotten really fed up with the dip in quality with the modern games in the series. It's gotten to the point now where I just don't trust Sega anymore when it comes to the blue blur, with disappointments recently like Sonic Forces, Sonic Lost Worlds, and of course, Sonic... Yeah, let's just pretend that one didn't happen. Anyways, when Sonic Frontiers was officially announced at the 2021 Game Awards as an open world, or, open zone take on Sonic, while I was interested, I have to admit, I was very cautious with my expectations, knowing what Sega team had given us in the past when it comes to this genre. Now that the game's been out for around 2 months though, let's go ahead and take a look back at the Hedgehog's recent outing. Did Sonic Team manage to break the bad game streak that they've been on for so long? Is Sonic Frontiers more than just a Breath of the Wild moment for the series? And, oh, most importantly, is Sonic Frontiers for the PlayStation 5 worth it overall? Hello everybody, what's going on? My name is King J0444 and welcome back to another brand new episode of Is It Worth It? The series where I review a game in a series that I had genuinely little interest in for most of my childhood. Look, I'll be the first to admit here that I was never too into Sonic as a kid, and honestly, I haven't really been into the series even now. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Sonic games or anything like that, but the only ones that I really got into and really enjoyed and played a lot were Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and Sonic Mania, the latter of which wasn't even made by the Sonic team. I tried many times to get back into the series with games like Sonic Forces, Sonic Lost Worlds, but those just didn't feel as refined and, well, lacking overall. I never got around to playing the games that people really love, like Colors and Generations, but Sonic Frontiers, well, this caught my eye immediately. It was obvious from the trailer that this was Sonic's Breath of the Wild moment, with freedom of exploration. You could do what you want and when you wanted, and it looked very unique from its predecessors, and it looks really promising. That is, until the early gameplay reveals came out. For some unknown reason, Sega and Sonic Team gave IGN the honor of being the first to formally reveal full uncut gameplay footage of Sonic Frontiers, which, I'm sorry, is just a very weird choice. Yeah, we're gonna give the people who constantly gave our games bad scores in the past the chance to show off our new game first! Okay? Yeah, people were not happy when this gameplay was shown off. The game didn't look bad, but it just looked generic. The environments looked bland, and there were just random rails and bounce pads everywhere for no reason. And worst of all, the combat looked like it was just mindless button mashing. This gameplay reveal really didn't paint Frontiers in the best light. This led me, and countless others, to be super cautious and wary on how this game was going to turn out, based on how the game was shaping up to be, as well as how radio silent Sonic Team was being leading up to its release. Despite the response though, the game still released as planned on November 8th, 2022 for PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC, and it's been out for a good while now, so without further ado, let's play it and see how it all turned out, I guess. The story to Sonic Frontiers is pretty generic like Sonic stories usually are. Sonic, Amy, Tails, and Knuckles are separated after their plane malfunctions while flying above an island, and drops them into a wormhole. Sonic then finds himself on an abandoned and rogue group of islands, which is known as the Starfall Islands, which have portals to a different dimension called the cyberspace, in which Eggman and Sonic's friends are now trapped inside. It's up to Sonic to collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds on each of the 5 islands to defeat each of the main big giant robots on each one of them, known as the Titans, so he can rescue his friends and find out what happened to this weird, otherworldly area, and those that used to live here. Now, if that sounded like a lot, well, it is, and that's just the beginning of the game, but trust me when I say the story gets way more investing with time, and it all fits into the Sonic lore really well, as it eventually later on explains the origins of the Chaos Emeralds, which I thought was really cool. The main driving point to the narrative in Frontiers is fueled by its characters. Of course, you have the returning cast, who are very interestingly portrayed by new actors, which definitely threw me for a loop for a good while. But the new inclusions of the Coco race and the new antagonistic entity known as Sage brings a lot of mystery to the table. The Cocos are a species that live on the islands, and as you progress the story, you learn more of the backstory of them, and what happened to them long ago. Meanwhile, Sage is basically Eggman's new puppet. She looks up to him as a father, and is trying to help him escape from the cyberspace realms. Sage is definitely the biggest surprise in terms of character arcs in this game, and I was pleasantly surprised with the type of journey that her character goes through as an AI trying to understand Sonic and Eggman's intentions and how they both act compared to one another. Sonic's storylines are never the main reason to play the games, but I have to say Frontiers has a very gripping narrative that kept me going throughout its runtime and kept me invested, despite how confusing it was at times, and, well, the mysteries of Starfall Islands was really the main part of the hook that it had. Not to mention the cutscenes and voice acting, while jarring at first, was overall very well done throughout the whole game. As I stated beforehand though, the main thing that got a lot of people excited for Frontiers was the promise of the open world format it was taking. And to this day, that's easily the biggest appeal that the game has still. The game is split up into 5 different giant islands for Sonic to explore, parkour around, and do challenges in, each with a different biome or environment pertaining to it. These islands aren't small either, and they each have tons of things to do, unique enemies to fight, as well as collectibles to find. The main collectibles you need at each island is of course the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Once you obtain those, you can take on the big Titan boss fight for that island and progress the story. In order to get the emeralds, you'll need keys, which you get from dozens of cyberspace portals around each area. The cyberspaces are where you'll find your regular Sonic gameplay levels, both 3D and 2D ones, each with their own challenges, taken from the other modern Sonic games. Completing each of these challenges will award you 1 key each, which is just beating the level, collecting a certain amount of rings, beating a gold time, and collecting 5 red rings hidden throughout. These cyberspaces are easily, in my opinion, the most fun and challenging parts of the game, and are probably the high point of the game as well. Each is creative, fast-paced, and different from the last, and gives that classic Sonic feel that we all know and love. To unlock these cyberspaces, you need to find portal gears, which you get from fighting unique bosses spread throughout the land. These bosses are also a huge highlight of the game for me, alongside the cyberspaces. The dev team went above and beyond and made a ton of unique encounters and fights for you to come across. Sometimes you have a ninja who goes fist to fist with you, or there's a puzzle you need to solve to damage the boss at all. Sometimes you'll ride a track behind the box, and dodge obstacles on grind rails to render it hittable. Each fight feels different and unique, and was always so fun to figure out what I needed to do for it for the first time. There's also these memory tokens, which are the most easy to find and arguably the biggest collectible in the game, which you use to progress a story in each island and witness story events to learn more of what's happening. There's also these purple coins, which you use to go fishing with Big the Cat. That was a surprise. The best part about Sonic Frontiers is that every collectible has a purpose, and it leads to a really awesome and rewarding gameplay loop, as none of the collectibles, aside from purple coins, carry over from one island to the next. You need memory tokens to progress the story, you need gears from the bosses to get to the cyberspaces, you get keys from said cyberspaces to get the Master Emeralds, which is the main way to finish each island. It all works out so well and goes together perfectly. So you know Sonic Team just had to fuck it up somehow. Sega, what the hell? You were so close to having a perfect gameplay loop, man, but you just had to mess it up. You remember the fishing spot that I mentioned earlier that you could use purple coins for with Big the Cat? Well, it turns out that you trade in coins you get for fishing to Big the Cat for literally anything you want, including gears, memory tokens, and keys. This means you can get all the keys and memory tokens that you need for each island from just fishing alone, which ruins everything. You can literally skip my two favorite aspects of this game, the bosses and the cyberspaces, in their entirety, all from collecting purple coins, which are very easy to come by and also carry over from one island to another. This is just so dumb! I get that it's optional, but this eliminates all of the reasons to explore later islands. In my first playthrough, I got to the final island and just wanted to finish the story, so for the final island, I just fished everything I needed. And that's it! That's my main and biggest issue with Sonic Frontiers. The game progression on paper works so well, and all goes together perfectly, but it can just be skipped so easily! Okay. Sorry. I just had to get that out. It's just such a weird choice that they made. That's the main point I'm trying to make here. Let's calm down and let's talk about something a little bit more calm. Let's talk about the open world and the rest of what it's like to explore it. The open terrain and islands in Sonic Frontiers is bursting with things to do. Tons of puzzles to solve, mini challenges, and small extra collectibles like Lost Cocos to find. All of these serve their own purpose by giving you memory tokens, unlocking more of the map, and even giving you upgrades to Sonic's speed and ring count. There was always something new to do and see around each area and every island, which kept me searching and playing for hours on end. My main gripe with Sonic Frontiers, though, is what I feared most about this game heading in, which is that each world feels really bare and uninspired, and it's very drab and boring at times. Sonic Frontiers is also sadly a very good depiction of bigger doesn't always mean better. Each island is covered and littered with collectibles and secrets to the point where it feels extremely bloated. By the time I fully 100% completed the first island and moved on to the second one, I really didn't feel like starting over again and doing it all from the start. From that point on, I just decided to focus on the main objectives, which, honestly, I feel is the best way to experience this game on a first playthrough. Going through, unlocking all the map, and doing all the cyberspaces and unique boss fights. I will say that there's still a lot to love here, and Sonic Team did a great job with the open world game. It's definitely a great first step in the right direction, and has a playground-like world where people can just get lost and have fun in for hours on end. And that's really commendable considering the initial gameplay response that the game had. Another gripe I have with Frontiers comes with the combat, which, just like the game progression, is really great on paper, but is ruined by one gameplay choice. I gotta give them credit, the combat in Sonic Frontiers is way more fleshed out than I originally thought it to be. The game has a very in-depth skill tree for Sonic to learn new moves, and mastering those moves is very rewarding and a fun challenge, as they do massive damage if done well. It's a lot more than just mashing one button, which the IGN gameplay reveal originally looks like. However, while I love the combat in theory and its progression, this is tainted by a skill tree option to add an auto-attack feature. Once turned on, the game will do all of the choosing of the actions for you as you just mash one singular button, which completely backpedals on everything the game does so well, just like the fishing does with the game's natural progression. Thankfully, this is just left as an option in the menu, but it's a shame that most people will probably use this feature when they unlock it, as the combat is one of the most rewarding things the game has to offer in terms of mastering a skill to get the upper hand. Thankfully, my gripes end there, as there's a lot of Sonic Frontiers that I absolutely love. I already mentioned how much I love the cyberspace levels, which has some of the best music and level design in Sonic history. In fact, the entire soundtrack is a fucking banger, which lives up to the hype of the other 3D entries in the series as well. I also mentioned how much I love the unique bosses, and that goes double for the main ones. Each Titan fight is epic, huge in scale, and is a genuine challenge, and a great addition to the game in terms of scope, and provides a genuine constant threat for each island. Once again, they're made much easier with the auto attack feature, but thankfully, again, that is optional. I haven't even mentioned how good the game looks and runs overall yet. The game looks great visually and runs very steadily at a high frame rate, at least on my PlayStation 5. There's slight pop-in for things in the distance, but I never noticed it too bad throughout my playtime, and it never hindered my enjoyment of Sonic Frontiers. Overall, there's a lot to love about Sonic Frontiers, and there's some things that were just very questionable in terms of game design. Now, I know that you're probably thinking that because I complained so much about this game progression and combat being ruined by the auto attack and the fishing in the game, that I'm gonna say that I hate this game, and that it's not worth it at all. Well, no. What? Look, I know what I said, and I'm not saying that Sonic Team didn't make some stupid-ass choices when it came to those design flaws. But the thing is, those design choices that ruin the game, they're optional. While I still hate that they backpedaled like that in those regards, those design choices are just that. Accessibility choices that people can use to make the game easier for them. I highly recommend people do not play the game like that, as in my opinion it ruins the experience and the fun of the game and the progression that it has. But you all can play Sonic Frontiers the way you choose to do, and that's pretty cool. Even if it's still relatively stupid. Look, in the end, Sonic Frontiers is a great step in the right direction for 3D Sonic, and it also shows that despite his shaky recent outings, Sonic Team can still surprise us with fresh and creative ideas and games. My main issue with Sonic Frontiers, outside of the stuff I already mentioned, was what I was worried about going in. How the world feels bloated and uninspired, as well as the fact that bigger might not always equal better with this game's sake. That being said, the core awesome gameplay loop, amazing music, pretty decent visuals, and a better than average story and characters made Sonic Frontiers surprise me with its quality. Mix that in with the cyberspace levels and the boss fights, which were just the peak of the game for me by far, and, well, I liked it. I'm not in love with it like most people seem to be, but I enjoyed my time with Sonic Frontiers, and while I wouldn't say to pick it up at full price or anything like that, if it's on a sale or on a discount, Sonic Frontiers is definitely worth it.
Worth it.
Thank you guys all so much for watching another episode of Is It Worth It? Let me know in the comment section below what you think of Sonic Frontiers and also what system you played it on. I've heard that Switch version is a little rough, so I didn't get to review that because again, I played this on PlayStation 5 and it ran perfectly fine, but this is definitely going to be a very polarizing game. I know a lot of people who love it and say it's their favorite Sonic game. I think I like it. It took me a long time to kind of decide where I sit with this game. I really had to think it over for a couple weeks and, you know, go through everything and stuff like that. I have very strong nitpicks, as you can tell with this game, but for the most part, I enjoyed my time with it. So, with that being said, though, guys, make sure to hit that like button to show support the channel, subscribe for more awesome content like this, and to join the King Crew, and let me know in the comment section below if there's any game you want me to check out for Is It Worth It? Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next one. See you guys later. Bye.